Biden signs TikTok ban into law, starting the clock for ByteDance to divest it. The legislation requires Chinese-based parent company ByteDance to divest TikTok in 9 months to a year in order to avoid an effective ban in the United States. And honestly, I personally am actually hugely surprised that this happened. I knew that a ban was possible and on the horizon and there were bills, but I legitimately did not think this would actually go through. And that's primarily because, according to Pew Research, it's only supported by about 38% of adults right now. And obviously there's some nuance to the numbers here. You can look and it breaks it out by demographic. Like Republicans tend to be far more in favor. The majority of Republicans are. Very few Democrats are. Young people and teens are far less likely to support a ban, and so on and so forth. But overall, it was not a particularly popular measure to try and ban TikTok. So it's really surprising that it goes through. Here's another article talking a little bit more about it. President Joe Biden on Wednesday signed into law measures to provide aid to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, as well as compel Chinese parent company ByteDance to sell the social media platform or face a national ban. Biden's official approval ends a 6-month saga of tense political battles on Capitol Hill that led to a deadlock on the issue of foreign aid. And if you are confused as to what this means, that the bill provides aid for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, and then also has TikTok effectively banned, not now, but in 9 months, then that's perfectly reasonable to be confused about. But specifically what's happening here is that primarily Republicans wanted TikTok banned, and primarily Democrats wanted aid packages sent overseas. So essentially they compromised, sort of, and they put a bill together that lumped everything that the Democrats wanted and everything that Republicans wanted into this one bill, and that's talked about here. And it says, while the Senate initially passed a very similar version of the aid bill in February, it remained stalled in the House for months until last week, when Speaker of the House Mike Johnson announced that he would allow the package to be voted on as separate bills with the TikTok ban component added. While the popular social media platform wouldn't be banned outright, the legislation forces owner ByteDance to sell, or TikTok would no longer be available on United States app stores. So TikTok, again, it's not banned at the moment. They have 9 months to sell it, with a possibility of a 90-day extension should they get that granted by President Biden. But if they don't sell it, then it won't be specifically banned, but it will not be allowed to be downloaded or hosted on any of the app stores in the United States. So that's the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, and then if you use some side loader like F-Droid, that wouldn't be allowed on there either. And if you're curious how TikTok responded, they sent out this tweet. This unconstitutional law is a TikTok ban, and we will challenge it in court. We believe the facts and the law are clearly on our side, and we will ultimately prevail. The fact is, we have invested billions of dollars to keep US data safe and our platform free from outside influence and manipulation. This ban would devastate 7 million businesses and silence 170 million Americans. As we continue to challenge this unconstitutional ban, we will continue investing and innovating to ensure TikTok remains a space where Americans of all walks of life can safely come and share their experiences, find joy, and be inspired. And the CEO of TikTok himself put out this statement. It's about 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and specifically he's talking about how they keep American data safe and there's no interference from the Chinese party on anything relating to TikTok's algorithms. And he also talks about how this is unconstitutional because it suppresses freedom of speech, so on and so forth. You get the idea. It's the same few talking points saying that it is unconstitutional to ban this because you are suppressing freedom of speech. However, it's important to take everything they say with a grain of salt, because obviously the company that stands to lose billions and billions of dollars is going to try and make the people trying to make them lose those billions of dollars, it's going to try and make them look bad. So everything they say, understand it might not be exactly as they are portraying it to be, but that's something that will have to go through the courts. Also, if you enjoy business news and finance updates, I post almost daily, and I'd love to see you around here regularly. So the primary reason for the TikTok ban is over data protection, because TikTok is owned by a company called ByteDance, and ByteDance is based out of China. The fear is that the Chinese government can force ByteDance to take TikTok's data and hand it over to the Chinese Communist Party, and from there they can force force TikTok to show certain kinds of advertisements, or they can try and influence the American public towards one way politically or one way religiously. And you can imagine that maybe the American public could be influenced in order to not want tariffs on Chinese goods, or influenced to believe that Chinese manufacturing is healthy for the world economy, or those kinds of things. That is the fear that senators and lawmakers have, that the Chinese Communist Party has access to basically half of America at the touch of a notification, and they could use that power and abuse it. Now, TikTok, for their part, says that they have spent billions of dollars on a United States-based data center in Texas that would host all the data that it collects on American users, and that would not even go overseas to China. However, that might not actually be as secure as we've been led to believe. The Verge put out this report, I think just a week or so ago. Report, TikTok's efforts to silo U.S. data are, quote, largely cosmetic. Several former employees told Fortune that Project Texas, which is the data center that would allegedly hold all of America's data without it actually going overseas, TikTok's attempt to sequester U.S. users' data away from its Chinese parent company, is largely ineffective. And specifically, it's saying that in practice, the data was less walled off than TikTok led users and politicians to believe, Fortune reports. Evan Turner, who worked at TikTok as a data scientist between April and September of 2022, described a, quote, stealth chain of command, unquote, in which he was reassigned on paper to a manager in Seattle, but continued reporting to executives in China. Every 2 weeks or so, Turner would email spreadsheets with data on hundreds of thousands of U.S. workers to ByteDance workers in Beijing, he told Fortune. The spreadsheets included users' names, email addresses, IP addresses, and geographic and demographic information, and was used to determine how to develop TikTok's algorithm to encourage users to be more active on the app, he said. So that's the standoff. On one side, we've got lawmakers that are worried this data could be taken and used against the American public in a way that would influence them. And on the other side, you have the TikTok company and also primarily the users who are very upset that their social media app is being taken away. And their argument is that the freedom of speech is being suppressed and that is unconstitutional. So what happens now? And it's kind of hard to say. TikTok stands to lose so much that I suspect they will appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court if they are able to. Given that so much of their profit and revenue comes from the United States, it makes sense that they would do absolutely everything in their power to stop it from being banned here. But if that fails, I can't imagine a world in which ByteDance would just hand over what is essentially the most powerful social media algorithm in the world to people outside of its company. If TikTok is sold in the United States, probably all you would get is the branding and the logos and any catchphrases that come along with it, but you wouldn't actually get access to the algorithms themselves. Anybody that bought it here, like Microsoft, Oracle, Apple, Google, whoever would be vying for it, would get essentially just the IP rights, and they would have to build their own short-form media platform around it. Now, a lot of people are very quick to point out that this is kind of hypocritical of ByteDance because they're a Chinese company, and tons of United States tech companies are currently banned in China. Here's a specific list of websites that are blocked in mainland China, and you can see Google, YouTube, Facebook, Wikipedia, Reddit, Zoom, Bing, WhatsApp, Twitch, Roblox, so many of these, Spotify, Messenger. So many of these things are blocked or partially blocked in China. And then the United States has basically blocked the first thing of note in the United States coming from China, and people are losing their minds off of it. So when it comes down to, is it fair? Technically, it is perfectly fair, and I use that very air quote-esque, for the United States to finally block something that is Chinese tech. As for my personal opinion, I kind of don't really care. Social media is bad for everyone, I get that, but I'm also not under the delusion that banning TikTok is going to fix or solve anything. Probably nothing's going to change. People will just take the time they would have spent on TikTok and they'll start spending it on something else like Netflix or YouTube. But on a final interesting note, I came across this NBC article that says a Biden campaign plans to keep using TikTok through the election. The possible ban that the president signed into law Wednesday won't go into effect until January at the earliest. And his campaign told NBC News that it will keep using TikTok for now. And I will let you make of that what you will. Thanks for watching.